Hello everyone. In this presentation, we will discuss housing and neighborhoods as determinants of health. In this short presentation, we will discuss how housing and neighborhoods affect health. We will also explain how and why urban design and the built environment influence health outcomes. Inappropriate housing is also one of the social determinants of health. Bad housing results in ill health effects due to the following: poor ventilation and indoor air pollution, overcrowding, occupant safety issues, lead-based paints, and other toxins such as radon gas, inadequate heating and cooling, moisture buildup, water infiltration, and mold. The quality of housing may affect health in many ways. Overcrowding increases the risk of communicable diseases, stress, depression, family violence, and substance abuse. Poor ventilation and mold increases the risk of respiratory diseases, especially in children. Frequent lack of adequate food storage, food preparation, toilet and bathing facilities also increases the risk of disease. Inadequate refuse disposal create conditions for disease vectors such as rodents. Bad wiring, no functioning smoke detectors, units with no easy exits increases the risk of fire and smoke inhalation. The following slide indicates some of the living conditions that people find themselves living in, especially in urban areas. When it comes to the interior of houses, lead-based paints were used in many homes until the 1970s. Degraded paints yield chips and dust contaminated with lead. Lead poisoning causes irreversible brain damage even at low doses. Many children aged 1 to 5 years live in old homes contaminated with lead, and many low-cost houses are also contaminated with lead. There are various epidemiological studies conducted in South Africa that points to the ongoing exposure of large numbers of children and adolescents to lead in the environment. Other old homes have asbestos, which is also detrimental to health. Let us briefly talk about the issue of homelessness and health. Homelessness is defined as living in housing that is below the minimum standard or lacks secure tenure. People can be categorized as homeless if they are living on the streets. That is primary homelessness. Moving between temporary shelters, including houses of friends, family, and emergency accommodation. That is secondary homelessness. Living in private boarding houses without a private bathroom or security of tenure. That is tertiary homelessness. The legal definition of homeless varies from country to country or among different jurisdictions in the same country or region. Homelessness affects health negatively. People with substance abuse and mental health issues are most at risk of becoming homeless, but the main issue is the affordability of housing. Being without a home creates stress, disrupts life, and causes illness. Living on the street leads to mental health problems, vulnerability to assault, and substance abuse. Some of the variables associated with homelessness include factors close to an individual, that is, lack of job skills, low educational attainment, mental illness, substance abuse, family breakdown, adverse childhood experience such as abuse, chronic illness or disability. Those at macro level includes income inequality, economic and unemployment, high housing costs, lack of social assistance and income support, and discrimination. Homeless people have worse health than the general population because there's higher mortality rates, heart stroke, dehydration, hypothermia, frostbite. They are often victims of assault. Many use drugs, alcohol, and cigarettes. There's also poor nutrition, breakdown of skin, frequent infections like sores as well, poor access to health and social services. What is the scope of the problem of homelessness in South Africa? This problem dates back to the apartheid period. Increasing unemployment, lack of affordable housing, social disintegration, and social and economic policies have all been identified as contributing factors to the issue. Some scholars argue that solutions to homelessness in South Africa lie more within the private sphere than in the legal and political spheres. There is no national census on homeless people in South Africa. Researchers instead rely on individual studies of homeless persons in particular cities. The South African homeless population has been estimated at approximately 200,000. One study found that out of 4 South African metropolitan municipalities viewed homelessness primarily as a social dependency issue, responding with social interventions. At the same time, homeless South Africans indicated that the most important thing the municipality could assist them with was employment and well-located affordable housing. The problem of homelessness is not only found in South Africa. For example, an estimated 250,000 people in Canada experience homelessness each year. Approximately 30,000 Canadians are homeless on any given night. What drives homelessness? Housing boom and associated rising housing costs, rising rents, limited number of low-cost homes, unemployment, and low wages, especially for the marginalized populations. Let's look at neighborhoods and health. The patterning of health status of populations can be explained by the location where people spend their lives. Where you live affects your health in terms of access to health services and amenities, health behavior, mental health status, activity level, health, social and recreational and educational services, type and quality of stores, parks, and green space, and many other factors. The characteristics of neighborhoods also have enormous effect of health in terms of security and sense of safety, quality of surrounding properties, access to shopping, good quality food, access to transportation, access to green space and parks, access to recreational facilities, social services, healthcare, quality of schools, and other services. More affluent neighborhoods generate better health outcomes for both rich and less rich residents. Poor neighborhoods have negative health impacts on both more or less affluent residents. The lower the degree of segregation, the better the average health of the residents. The neighborhood characteristics can be regarded as a resource for the residents. The type, quality, and location and characteristics form of a neighborhood form the opportunity structure of that place. Opportunity structures follow a pattern of deprivation amplification. There is generally a direct relationship between the opportunities and limitations of a community and the income and education of its residents. Poorer people have fewer personal resources, hence less opportunity, and the places where poorer people live offer less to their residents, compounding their lack of opportunity. Disordered neighborhoods refers to neighborhoods with poorly functioning public services, low solidarity or social capital, low personal security, neighborhoods where people feel powerless to enact positive change, dangerous ecology, less care and support for vulnerable populations due to low level of social solidarity and low social capital. Poor neighborhoods that are less disordered have higher rates of health and safety. Urban design and the built environment influences the rate of physical activity. Inactivity is associated with a number of adverse health outcomes such as obesity, diabetes, and heart diseases. For example, physical activity is affected by access to recreational spaces, public transport, transport policies, sidewalks, adequate lighting at night, bike paths, availability of parks, and many other factors. If we look at housing policies over the years, there has been many changes in government's policies on housing. Privatization of housing markets skews housing into more lucrative and less affordable homes. Private for profit builders will not supply adequate lower cost housing because it is insufficiently profitable. Middle and low income earners have fewer housing choices and are confronted by unaffordable housing. In South Africa, for example, money has been wasted in corrupt activities in the provision of RDP houses, majority of which are of very poor quality. Improvements in government's policies for dealing with housing costs and homelessness should focus on low cost housing initiatives and projects targeting the homeless. Let us have a look at some theoretical considerations. At the individual level, risks to health arise from housing conditions. At the community level, the neighborhoods and the built environment support or undermine the health of residents. Individual factors like low income interact with societal ones like housing costs and spatial ones such as neighborhoods and characteristics. Housing and neighborhoods are largely functions of income and education as mediated through employment. The interaction of income, education, employment, housing, and neighborhood drive health outcomes over the duration of a person's life. In summary, the quality of housing is one of the major determinants of health. Very low income in the absence of robust social assistance and social housing results in homelessness. The characteristics of residential neighborhoods have profound health effects. The urban design and built environment heavily influence how people use the space. Thank you for listening.